You think your dog loves you, and maybe they do, but there's a real chance you're reading the signs completely wrong. Dogs don't communicate the way we do. They don't hug. They don't say it out loud. They speak in tail positions, in muscle tension, in eye contact, in where they choose to sleep, and most owners have never learned that language. So when your dog does something that looks like love, you assume it is, but some of those behaviors actually mean the opposite. And the gap between what you think your dog feels and what they actually feel could be bigger than you've ever considered. Here are 14 signs your dog doesn't love you, even if you think they do. 1. They follow you out of anxiety, not attachment. You probably watched your dog trail behind you from the kitchen to the bathroom and thought, they just can't get enough of me. That feels good. It feels like devotion. But here's what most owners never stop to consider. Not all following is the same. There are two completely different reasons a dog follows their owner everywhere, and they look identical from the outside. The first is secure attachment. That's a dog who follows you because being near you is the best part of their day. The second is separation anxiety. That's a dog who follows you because the thought of losing sight of you triggers a panic response in their nervous system. A 2020 study from the University of Lincoln found that dogs with insecure attachment styles showed more clinically termed Velcro behavior, meaning they followed their owners compulsively, compared to securely attached dogs who could comfortably stay in one room while their owner moved through the house. The difference between these two dogs isn't how much they follow, it's how they act when they can't. Does your dog pace, whine, scratch at doors, or refuse to settle the moment you leave the room? That's not love, that's fear. And fear-based attachment is not the same as a genuine bond. It means your dog is holding on because they're terrified of losing you, not because you've built something real together. The good news? It can change. But first you have to stop confusing the symptom for the feeling. 2. Their tail wags, but their body tells a different story. When your dog's tail is wagging, everything feels right. That's the universal symbol of a happy dog, and every owner knows it. Except it's not that simple, and most people are getting it wrong in a way that matters. A tail wag is not a binary signal for happiness. It's a communication tool, and the direction, height, and speed of that wag each means something completely different. A 2007 study published in Current Biology by neuroscientist Giorgio Vallardegara found that dogs wag more to the right when they see someone they have a positive association with, and more to the left when they're uncertain or anxious. Most people can't tell the difference, but other dogs can read it instantly. More importantly, a wagging tail paired with a stiff body, tucked hindquarters, flat ears, or whale eye, where you can see the whites around your dog's iris, is not a happy dog. It's a stressed one. If your dog wags their tail every time you approach, but consistently holds their back legs slightly tucked, turns their head away, or keeps their ears pinned, they're not expressing joy. They're offering appeasement. They're trying to communicate, please don't be a threat to me. That's not love. That's management. And if your dog has been managing you instead of connecting with you, there's something deeper going on in the relationship that a wagging tail will never reveal. 3. They don't make eye contact with you. Eye contact with a dog is not aggressive. That's a myth that's caused millions of owners to misread one of the most important signals their dog can offer. In a healthy, bonded relationship, dogs make soft, relaxed eye contact with their owners all the time. They glance over during play. They gaze up during walks. They look at you when something confuses them because you're the safe place they check in with. Researchers call this social referencing, and it's one of the hallmark behaviors of a secure dog-owner bond. A 2015 study from Azabu University in Japan found that mutual gaze between dogs and their owners triggered an increase in oxytocin levels in both species, the same bonding hormone released between human mothers and infants. So eye contact between a dog and their owner is literally a chemical bonding event. Now ask yourself honestly, does your dog look at you? Not just when you have food, not just when you call their name. Does your dog glance at your face just to check in, the way a close friend would during a conversation? If the answer is no, if your dog consistently looks past you, looks away the moment you make eye contact, or keeps their gaze low and avoidant, that's meaningful information. A dog who trusts you wants to see your face. A dog who hasn't yet found that safety in you will avoid it. And unlike some of the other signs on this list, this one is hard to fake and hard to miss once you start paying attention to it. 4. They lick you to calm themselves, not to show love. Oh, but my dog licks me all the time. You're thinking, that must mean they love me, and it might. But there's a version of licking that has nothing to do with affection, and most owners never separate the two. Licking is a complex behavior in dogs. Yes, it can be a sign of genuine affection and bonding, but it's also one of the most common stress relief behaviors in the canine world. Dogs lick to self-soothe. They lick when they're anxious, when they're overstimulated, when they're trying to communicate submission, and when they're attempting to de-escalate a social situation they feel uncertain about. A study published in the journal Applied Animal Behavior Science found that dogs who lick their owners compulsively, especially in contexts that weren't initiated by the dog, were more likely to show other signs of chronic stress in the home environment. So here's the question you need to ask. When does your dog lick you? Is it spontaneous, calm and relaxed when you're lying quietly together and they give you a few slow licks on the hand? That's affection. Or does it happen when you're getting in their space, when guests arrive, when there's tension in the room, or when they seem overly frantic about it? That second version isn't love. That's your dog using you as a coping mechanism. They're not saying, I adore you. They're saying, I'm overwhelmed, and this is the only thing that helps. There's a kindness in recognizing the difference, because a dog who licks you out of anxiety needs something very different from you than a dog who licks you out of love. 5. They never bring you toys. Dogs bring toys to people they want to play with, right? So if your dog never does this, it's probably just because they're not a toy-type dog. Except that explanation misses something important. Toy-bringing behavior in dogs isn't purely about play. It's also an act of offering. In a pack context, bringing something to another individual is a gesture of inclusion. I have this thing, and I'm choosing to share it with you, or I want to do this with you specifically. A dog who brings a toy to one family member and not another isn't showing a neutral preference. They're showing you a clear ranking of where they feel safest, most connected, and most invited to be themselves. A 2021 behavioral study found that dogs were significantly more likely to retrieve and bring objects to individuals they were securely bonded with, even in novel environments with strangers present. If your dog drops toys at your partner's feet, your kid's feet, even a visiting friend's feet, but never yours, that gap is worth sitting with. It's not about the toy. It's about who your dog chooses to share moments with. And if you're consistently not on that list, your dog is telling you something about the relationship that no treat or walk can immediately fix. And I'll tell you what can later. But first, there are a few more signs you need to see. 6. They ignore their name when you call them in a distraction-free room. Every dog owner chalks up selective hearing to stubbornness. Oh, they know their name. They're just ignoring me. But here's what's actually happening when a dog consistently fails to respond to their name in a calm, low-distraction environment. Name response in dogs is deeply tied to the quality of the relationship, not just the training. A dog who has a strong emotional connection with their owner responds to their name because that name has become associated with safety, good things, and attention from someone they genuinely want. When a dog consistently looks away, continues what they're doing, or doesn't even twitch an ear when you call their name in a quiet room, it doesn't mean they're stubborn. It means their name hasn't become meaningful yet. Dr. Alexandra Horowitz, a dog cognition researcher at Columbia University and author of Inside of a Dog, has noted that dogs process names through the lens of emotional association, not just acoustic recognition. So if you've called your dog's name primarily when they're in trouble, when you need them to stop something, or when the interaction was negative, their name has been filed under threat incoming rather than good things happen. That's a training failure, yes. But more than that, it's a relationship signal. A dog who loves you wants to engage with you, and a dog who finds your voice meaningful will always, eventually, turn their head. 7. They sleep as far from you as possible. Dogs are pack animals by nature. Proximity during rest is not a casual thing for them. Where a dog chooses to sleep is where they feel the safest, and who they choose to sleep near is who they trust the most. This is not complicated biology. It's an ancient instinct. So when your dog consistently retreats to another room entirely to sleep, pushes themselves into the furthest corner, or sleeps with their back turned firmly away from you, that's not independence. That's distance, and it means something. A 2019 survey study published in the journal Animals found that dogs in high-quality, secure owner relationships were significantly more likely to sleep in or near the owner's sleeping area than dogs whose behavioral profiles showed anxious or avoidant attachment. Now, this doesn't mean every dog who sleeps in their own bed has a broken bond. Some dogs are hot. Some were trained to sleep elsewhere from puppyhood, and that's comfortable for them. But if your dog actively moves away from you at night, if they used to sleep nearby and stop, or if they sleep close to everyone in the house except you. Pay attention to that. Proximity is a vote, and your dog is casting one every single night. 8, they stop greeting you at the door. There's a specific kind of heart lift that happens when your dog sprints to the door the moment you come home. The barking, the spinning, the whole body wiggle. And if that stopped happening, or if it never really happened at all, most owners write it off. Some dogs are just calm. Some dogs are older. And yes, both of those things are true sometimes. But diminished greeting behavior can also be one of the earliest signs of a relationship disconnect, and it's worth taking seriously. Greeting behavior in dogs is tied to emotional investment. A study from the University of Helsinki found that dogs showed measurably higher enthusiastic greetings for owners they had a higher oxytocin bond with. That enthusiasm wasn't just a habit. It was a direct expression of how much the dog valued the return of that specific person. If your dog hears the door open, lifts their head, and then puts it back down, they're not broken or lazy. They've calculated that the person came back, but it doesn't change much for me either way. And that calculation, quiet as it is, tells you more about the state of your bond than almost anything else on this list. 9, they tense up when you touch them. Touch is one of the most direct ways humans express love to their dogs. It's also one of the most misunderstood. Most owners pet their dogs constantly, usually without ever noticing how the dog actually receives that touch. Watch what your dog does the next time you reach down to pet them. Do their muscles soften? Do they lean in, press towards your hand, and stay? Or do they hold their breath, subtly shift their weight, or go very still in a way that feels more like tolerance than enjoyment? That second response is called learned helplessness in touch. And it happens when a dog has been touched in ways they don't fully welcome, for long enough that they've stopped signaling discomfort. Dr. Karen Overall, a board-certified veterinary behaviorist, has written extensively about how dogs who are touched without regard for their signals eventually stop giving those signals entirely. They still tolerate touch, but they've learned that communicating discomfort doesn't work. If your dog freezes, yawns, licks their lips, or looks away when you pet them, especially if they do it consistently, they're not being dramatic. They're communicating something they've probably been communicating for a long time. The relationship you want with your dog has to start with touch. They actually want, not touch you've convinced yourself they like because they put up with it. 10, they never check in with you on walks. The walk is supposed to be a shared experience, but watch what your dog actually does during one. Do they glance back at you? Do they pull towards something and then look over their shoulder to see where you are? Do they slow down to walk beside you even when they don't have to? Or do they forge straight ahead, completely absorbed in the environment, seemingly indifferent to whether you're still attached to the other end of the leash? Dogs, who have a strong bond with their owners, treat walks as a co-exploration. The world is interesting, yes, but you are interesting too. Researchers studying free-range dog behavior have found that securely bonded dogs made significantly more voluntary physical contact with their owners during walks than dogs with weaker relational bonds, even when not leash constrained. A dog who never checks in on a walk isn't simply confident. They've mentally filed you under person attached to my leash, not person I want to be with. That's a subtle but real distinction, and it's one you can change, starting with how you show up on the next one. 11, they don't come to you when they're scared. This one matters more than most of the others. When something frightens your dog, where do they go? Do they run to you? Press against your leg? Try to get physically as close to you as possible? Or do they run under the bed, into a corner, into another room, somewhere specifically away from you? In dogs, seeking proximity to their owner during a fear response is one of the clearest measures of secure attachment that behavioral researchers use. It's called the safe haven effect. A dog who runs to you during a thunderstorm, a loud noise, or an unfamiliar situation has internalized something crucial. You make things safer. A dog who consistently goes somewhere that isn't you when they're afraid hasn't developed that association yet. And this isn't about whether your dog is independent or anxious by temperament. This is about whether they've learned from experience that you are the safest place in the room. If you haven't been that yet, this is the most important item on the entire list, because a dog who doesn't run to you when they're frightened doesn't yet believe you can protect them. And building a bond with a dog who doesn't feel safe with you requires starting from that truth. 12. They greet strangers the same way they greet you. Dogs should have a greeting tier system. Their owner gets something that a friendly stranger does not. That's not just emotionally nice to believe. It's behaviorally observable and scientifically documented. If your dog greets a house guest with the same enthusiasm, the same full body wag, the same jumping and licking that they give you after 8 hours apart, pay attention to what that actually means. It means you haven't become special yet. It means your presence doesn't register as categorically different from any other friendly human. A study from the Max Planck Institute for Evolutionary Anthropology found that dogs in secure owner relationships responded to their owners differently than to familiar strangers, even when controlling for training and history. That differential response isn't trained. It emerges from a real bond. Your dog should know the difference between you and everyone else, not because you tell them to, but because being with you actually feels different. If it doesn't yet, the gap is closable, but it requires you to be present, consistent, and genuinely engaging in ways that signal to your dog that you are worth treating differently from the rest of the world. 13. They never roll onto their back near you. A dog rolling onto their back in your presence is one of the most vulnerable things they can do. The belly is the most physically unprotected part of a dog's body, where all the vital organs are closest to the surface. Exposing it is an act of complete trust. Not just trust that you won't hurt them, but trust that the world right here, right now, is safe enough to be defenseless in. There are two versions of this. One is the appeasement roll, where a dog flips quickly and goes stiff when you approach. That's actually a stress signal, a kind of submissive pacifying behavior that says, please don't be a threat. The other is what behaviorists call the relaxed back roll. The dog does it spontaneously, in your space, with a loose body and soft face. Sometimes they squirm. Sometimes their legs go silly in the air. That's a dog who is genuinely at ease in your presence and using their body to broadcast it. If your dog never does this near you, but does it around other family members or in certain rooms of the house, they're telling you where they feel safest. And if that place isn't near you, that gap is not permanent, but it is real. 14. They don't look for you when something good happens. Here's the one that catches people off guard because it's not about fear or stress or avoidance. It's about joy. When your dog discovers something exciting, finds the perfect patch of grass to roll in, hears a sound they love, or catches a scent that makes their whole body light up, do they look for you? Do they glance your way to share the experience? The same way a toddler runs to show their parent something they found? That behavior, called social referencing, is a marker of genuine emotional investment in another individual. It means the experience isn't complete for them until you know about it. Research from Eötvös Loránd University in Budapest, one of the world's leading dog cognition research centers, has found that dogs reliably look back at their bonded owner during novel or exciting experiences, and that this behavior is one of the strongest predictors of overall bond quality. A dog who shares their joy with you has built something real with you. A dog who experiences the best moments of their day without ever checking whether you're watching hasn't fully let you in yet. And that is the most honest measure of where you actually stand. Not the leash walks, not the food bowl, not how long they've lived with you, but whether, in their best moment, they look for your face. Now here's what most people do with a list like this. They feel guilty, or they feel defensive, or they assume the bond they have is broken beyond repair. But none of that is true. Every single sign on this list is a starting point, not a verdict. Dogs are not cats. They are not quietly waiting for you to figure it out. They want to bond with you. It's written into their DNA across 15,000 years of coevolution with humans. The bond they're capable of having with you is not some rare thing that only perfect owners unlock. It's the default setting if you show up in the right ways. So if you recognize your dog in some of these signs, don't look away from that. Sit with it, because the dog who doesn't fully trust you yet isn't broken. They're just waiting for you to become the person they've been hoping you'd be.